Now, I won't talk much about the book. The premier covered everything pretty well about the book. So I've just launched this book in 2020, and it received a lot of, it received so much media attention. Now, during the interviews, I was repeatedly asked two questions. How do you intend to do it? And have you thought about the risks involved? Now, the questions are related, to my plans to step into the political minefield in South Africa, which is my country of birth, with all the jeopardy that accompanies it. So I decided to write another chapter. Chapter 30, it's called The Future. So the chapter pretty much answers those two questions. I have been known to be very, very, very vocal, and critical of the current South African government, which has continually, failed people for nearly 3 decades. It is a corrupt government that has nothing else to offer, but blame. They blame everything on apartheid. They blame everything, on white monopoly, which is non-existent. So that's the reason why I wrote the book. But the most important thing today is, I stand before you to make an announcement, and I wanted to share this with you first because I consider you my second family, and I consider you my friend. So I will be running as an independent candidate in the next general election in South Africa next year. The elections will be held sometimes between May and August next year. So I know exactly what you're thinking right now. You're probably thinking, Lovemore, have you lost your mind? You're probably thinking, you've got a death wish. Look, I know the journey I'm about to embark on won't be easy. Okay, and I know I'm going to put my life at risk. And I know I'm going to upset a lot of people. And I know, I'm going to become a threat to a lot of people. And I know they will do anything to derail my mission, including most probable attempts to assassinate me. Okay, I'm well aware of that. But I'm willing to die. I'm willing to die to save South Africa. Okay? So, look, I'm a true believer that change comes with risks. If we didn't take risks, we wouldn't have discovered the moon. If we didn't take risks, we wouldn't have discovered the beautiful oceans. Everything comes with the risk. So I'm willing to take that risk, and I'm willing to die fighting the good fight. Two wise men, Dante Alighieri and Martin Luther King Jr., they both once said the darkest places in hell are reserved for those who maintain their neutrality in times of high moral conflict. Meaning that, the darkest places in hell are reserved for those who stand by and do nothing in the face of injustice. Now, I'm in a position where I can help people. I'm in a position where I can stand up and fight the injustices that my people are facing in South Africa. I have a voice. I could be the voice of the voiceless. So why can't I use that? Why should I go help people? So that's part of the reason why I have decided, I'm going to run in the next general elections. Now, and let me be clear. This is not a decision I made, with ease. But as Obama once said, running for presidency is a profound decision that should not be made based on media hype and personal ambition only. I can rest assure you that my decision to go into politics is not based on personal ambition only. No, it is a decision I made, after giving it a lot of thoughts. And I can tell you now, it's not a decision, I made after a few beers when I was with some friends at the pub. You know, sometimes you go to the pub with a few beers, and then one of your friends says, "Oh man, I think you can get an espresso." And then the whiskey you've been drinking says, "Yeah, I'm going to be drinking." Nah, it has nothing to do all that. Nah, it's a decision I made after a consultation with my loved ones and my close friends. It's a decision I made on the need for change in South Africa. It's a decision I made for the need to build a better South Africa. And look, I'll be the first one, I'll be the first one to admit, and I'll be the first one to tell you that, I've had moments, of doubtfulness, and cynicism. But I'll tell you what keeps me, what continues to give me faith and hope, about South Africa. What we know and have seen through the hard work, and the sacrifices of the likes of Nelson Mandela, is that South Africa can change. That gives me hope. If you look in 1994, after the first democratic elections, in fact, if you look, South Africa is the only country in the world that has a national anthem that's sung with 4 different languages. That tells you what? Inclusiveness. That those 4 languages, they represent the languages spoken in South Africa. South Africa is the only country in the world with 11 official languages. What does that tell you? We started well, but something went wrong along the way. So, South Africa can change. We were able to defeat, the former racist regime, and I believe if we stand together again, we can defeat the corrupt government. We can defeat the corrupt ANC. What also gives me faith and hope, is knowing that millions of South Africans want change. The great, Barack Obama, he once put it and said, nothing can stand in the way of the power of the millions of voices wanting change. That gives me faith and hope, because I know millions of voices in South Africa want change. What also gives me hope is knowing that all South Africans, black, white, Asian, you name it, we all share the same concerns. We are all victims of the same failed government. We have common interests. We all want a country where the future of our children is guaranteed. That gives me hope. Now, obviously, you'll be asking yourself, well, Lovemore, what makes you the more conventional candidate? Well, I'll tell you a little story about myself, and you understand why I'm the more conventional candidate. I had to fight for everything in my life. I was fighting while I was sitting in my mother's stomach. I had to fight, for an opportunity to be born in a proper hospital. No, I wasn't. I was born in a heart on the mat. Okay? When I was born, afterwards, I had to fight to be accepted, as an individual, as accepted as a person, accepted in my own country of birth. I was born during, apartheid. I was born during a time when blacks, we were treated as savages in our own country. We were treated, as not being intellectual the same as white people. I was born at a time when, justice was different for white as it was for blacks. I was born at a time when, the police system was put together to police blacks when it served whites. So I had to fight all my life. I had to fight to make a living. I had to swim in crocodile-infested rivers to catch fish so I can feed my family. Superstition had me believe I was, invincible, untouchable. That is a lie. I was raised by 2 black parents. They were not educated. My mom only had 5 years of education. My father never attended school. He had to teach himself to write his own name, Freddie. And at times, he used to mix up his D's with his B's. When he had to sign official documents, he would write Freddie instead of Freddie. Yeah. But look, I also did not attend school until I was 9 years of age. I had to find a job so I could pay for my school fees. I could pay for my school uniform. I did not attend a private school. I did not attend the best public school in the world. I was exposed, like every other black kid of the day, I was exposed to the Bantu educational system, an educational system that was created to fail black people. But I did not allow that to fail me. I did not allow that to fail me. You look at me today, like the Premier said, I hold 7 university degrees. So I'm a fighter. I'm just a national fighter. And so when I tell you that I'll be fighting to build a better South Africa, a better religion, because I will be fighting like the champion that I am. I know what it's like, to go into bed, in an empty stomach. I know what it's like, to have to worry about where the next meal is going to come from. I've been through all that, I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I know what it's, I know what it takes to be sidelined because of the color of your skin. And that's why I want to fight hard to stop that. We spent years in South Africa fighting apartheid. Now we have what we call racism. I want to fight that because I hate racism. But as far as I'm concerned, racism is a disease, that will make you feel less than what you are, worthless. It makes you feel worthless. So, I'll also tell you about my current family situation. That will make you understand why I tell you I'm the most conventional candidate. I raised a half-caste child, whose father was in fact a racist South African. I loved her, treated her with hell of my own life. I have a stepdaughter that's half Serbian, half Latvian. I love her to death. Okay? My first biological daughter has got 2 kids. One child is, half Vietnamese, the other child is half Sierra Leone. My second daughter, she only dates white boys. Okay. And my only son, he only dates Asians. So, if you come to a Christmas lunch, it's like attending, the UN convention, where every nation is represented, but that represents the rainbow. We are a rainbow family, and that's what Mandela wanted. He wanted a rainbow nation in South Africa. So, this is why I tell you that I do represent, I am the most conventional candidate. I've lived in Australia for 27 years now, a country that well represents a rainbow nation, So, but I'll tell you one more thing, that unlike the ANC or any of the opposition parties or independent candidates, I have no ulterior motive other than to serve South Africa. I have no other motive other than to lead, South Africa, out of the crisis created by the ANC. And I'm deeply grounded in the best aspirations of the country, and I'm not afraid to speak and hold out conference. And that's what I'm going to do. So, let me tell you this. If I have the great privilege to become the commander-in-chief in South Africa, I will wage a war against corruption. That's the first thing. I will make sure that no act of corruption runs unchecked. My administration will make millions of dollars available to fight corruption, and I will pass a law to ensure that all ill-gained assets and proceeds of crime are returned to the states or their rightful owners. And I will pass strong laws to ensure that those who engage in corruption do not escape the long arm of the law. My government will ensure that the rule of law remains sacrosanct. I will ensure that the separation of powers works. Currently does not work in South Africa. I will put in place great infrastructures to eradicate the current water crisis we're facing. I'll do the same to eradicate the current electricity crisis we're facing. And under my leadership, there will be no land expropriation without compensation. That will not happen, okay? Because the policy of expropriation without compensation can only achieve one thing only, and that's defeating the security of property rights. We can't have that, okay? Now, what really concerns me again is, you've got all these leaders in South Africa talking about, we're gonna take back the land. They don't even have a plan as to what they're gonna do with the land when they take it. Okay? We're gonna end up having a situation like Zimbabwe, what happened with Robert Mugabe. I'm not gonna allow that to happen in South Africa. My administration will also ensure that everyone is entitled to a free and better education. Okay, I'll make sure that a child that attends a public school has and feels the same hope as a child that attends private school. We need to educate people. Once people are educated, they'll be able to work. Once people are working, that reduces crime. Okay, crime is a big thing currently in South Africa. And one other thing, there will be no farm killings. That will never happen. Okay. My administration will make millions of dollars available to improve and strengthen our police and military forces. And I'll tell you this, I will not hesitate to use military force to take out criminals who pose a direct threat to our families. I will not hesitate. Our families will no longer live in fear within the confines of their farms. That will not happen. The next thing I will do is I will dispose of the black economic empowerment. Okay? The black economic empowerment, as BEE as they call it, it was a great policy when they put it in place. It was laudable in the beginning. It was a policy that was put in place to allow black participation in the economy, which they were denied during apartheid. But it turned into an avalanche of corruption. Because what's happening now is only benefiting those who are in power. Okay? And it's keeping potential investors away from South Africa. I'll get rid of that. I want to see potential investors coming back to South Africa. And once people are investing in South Africa, we'll be able to create jobs for South Africans. And one last thing I will do is I will continue to advocate for trade relations between South Africa and Australia. Australia is always going to remain my second home. So I'll make sure that relationship remains, and I would love to see Australians coming and investing in South Africa. And there is, look, the thing with South Africa, it's full of potential. It's a country that's rich in mineral resources. The only reason South Africa is poor is because it's been poorly governed. Okay? If the country was governed properly, no one should be going to bed in an empty stomach. Okay. This is the problem in Africa. The biggest problem in Africa is we seem to think that the freedom fighters or the liberated should be the one running the country. And these guys, they tend to run the country down the drain because they run a country like it's a family business. That needs to stop. We need to have qualified leaders. Thank you. Now, obviously, to achieve my goal, standing as an independent candidate in the next elections in South Africa, I'm going to need funding. So I'm asking that you back me, that you help me bring that change in South Africa, that you play a part in saving the country from a brink of collapse. So, to get my message out and get enough votes to win a seat in parliament, I need significant support. I need financial support. Now, South Africa is in a grip of corruption. My aim is to get rid of corruption and call out those individuals and companies who are bleeding the country of the funds it needs. To this end, I intend to set up an example of how to behave. So any funds that my campaign receives will be accounted for. As a donor, you will be kept up to date on exactly what your money is being spent on and where. I'll be accountable and available to answer any questions you have. There will be complete transparency. So, for donations, I'll ask you to please go to our website, www.Lovemore Ndou. It's not Lovemore Ndou, it's Lovemore.com. And thank you again.